Back during the PS2 days, EA owned the license for the James Bond games. Unfortunately for them, the James Bond film series was in hiatus during this time, so they couldn't simply make games based off the new films as they had done with Tomorrow Never Dies and The World Is Not Enough. This led to them being a bit all over the place with the direction they took the games in. It started well enough as they decided to make brand new James Bond stories, which for the most part they managed to pull off. Towards the end though, they didn't seem to know what to do with the license, leading to the critically panned GoldenEye Rogue Agent and the game I'll be looking at today, From Russia With Love. It was the last James Bond game to come from EA before Activision acquired the rights. I didn't play this game when it was first released at the time, as I was a little tired of the James Bond games. I decided to recently give it a go, as James Bond games usually fall into one of two categories, painfully awful and pretty good, and I was curious to see where this one would fit. So, did EA go out with a bang with From Russia With Love, or is this an experiment gone wrong? Let's check it out. Of course, the story of this game is taken from the 1963 film of the same name. I won't go into details about it as it's your standard James Bond storyline involving women, shooting bad guys and being a spy. First off, they did a great job recreating scenes from the film, especially considering the technical limitations of the PS2. The character models look good, and it's great that they managed to get Sean Connery to record new lines of dialogue, especially for the game. However, there are problems when it comes to everything they added to the story. There are parts of the game that never happened in the film, but were added to help extend the length of the game, and also to give the developers a bit more creative freedom when it comes to the levels. At the beginning of the game it's not a problem, as the changes are obvious but understandable, and the new sections do fit into the story. Towards the end of the game though, they push their luck, and instead of keeping the tone of the original film, they turn it into an action blockbuster. There is a whole new villain character whose only purpose seems to be that it's someone for James Bond to chase while blowing up things. I don't mind them adding more action into it, but there needed to be a better balance, as when I'm playing a game based off From Russia With Love, I want to feel like I'm playing in a classic Bond film. This isn't helped by the fact that the main villain group, Spectre, are now referred to as Octopus in this game due to legal reasons. I know it's not their fault, but the story does suffer slightly. There are also some odd choices throughout. The biggest one is the opening sequence before the credits, which involves Bond rescuing the Prime Minister's daughter, played by Natasha Bedingfield, by using the jetpack from Thunderball. It's not bad, just weird. If they were going to go for a short level that was unrelated to From Russia With Love at the beginning, why not directly recreate something from one of the other Sean Connery films? It seems like a missed opportunity, especially considering that this is the only Sean Connery James Bond game. From Russia With Love is a third-person action game. The main thing you will find yourself doing is running through levels shooting at members of not Spectre. The shooting is pretty simple. You press L1 to lock onto enemies and then you shoot them with R1. You can also press square to use Bond Focus, which highlights weak points on an enemy that you can shoot for easy kills. For example, if an enemy has grenades on him, you can use Bond Focus to shoot at them and blow him up. The Bond Focus is a cool idea, but ultimately doesn't add much. It does make you think about your shots a bit more and add a very small layer of depth to the shooting, but thanks to just how many enemies you have to kill during levels, you shortly stop caring. I found myself using it for almost every enemy, but I wasn't even thinking about it. As most of the enemies are just normal henchmen with the same weak points to shoot at, there's no tactical thinking behind using it after a while. It can be fun using Bond Focus, such as shooting at wires that enemies are hanging from to make them fall, but Bond Focus is mostly an unrealised idea. A big problem with the shooting mechanics in this game is that they're just too simple. With Bond Focus adding very little, and the fact that you can only shoot at enemies if you're locked onto them, it gives the game a very arcadey feel. There is, however, a cover system where if you're near a wall you can press triangle where Bond will take cover there. This might sound familiar for fans of Everything or Nothing, but unfortunately the cover mechanics do not work as well here. You can only take cover properly on specific walls, but in most areas there are very few walls where you can do this. Levels don't feel like they were designed around the cover system due to the lack of places you can take cover, so you will mostly just run through levels spraying at enemies. There's nothing wrong with an arcadey shooter, but it doesn't feel like that was the developers' intentions, so instead of the game having a mindless fun about it, gunfights are mediocre at best. This is not helped by the placement of ammo. You carry a large amount of weapons at all times, which means while there is always a lot of ammo lying around, most of it will be for weapons you don't use. You also get very little bullets whenever you do find ammo, which means if you want to use the machine gun or assault rifle, you can't because you rarely find enough ammo for it. I wasted too much of my time in this game running around looking for ammo for the better weapons, only to instantly bro it for a couple of enemies. It's one of the main reasons why the game isn't mindlessly fun, as you always have to worry about how much ammo you have. Overall, the shooting isn't horrible, it's just misguided and a bit dated. Just like any other James Bond game, there are a variety of gameplay styles. The first are stealth sections in which you can sneak up behind enemies and take them out silently. It's nice they added in stealth, but there isn't much to it, and there's little tension to it as there aren't any real consequences to getting spotted. A few times in the game you also get to take control of a jetpack, which is fun, but controlling Sean Connery hovering around is a bit silly. There are also driving sections where you drive to a pointer marked on your minimap while shooting at enemy vehicles. The driving in this game is outright bad. You only get mini turrets, so taking out other cars becomes boring fast. The controls are off, as with the steering you either don't turn enough or turn too much. And lastly, the missions are uninspired, with the main example being a level where you have to drive in a circle and take out 30 enemies that respawn before a timer is up. Maybe I'm ignorant, but the driving should be the easiest part to get right in a James Bond game, but just like in Bloodstone and Legends, From Russia with Love gets it wrong. While there aren't collectibles in this game, you can still find schematics in levels that give you research points. You can then use these research points to upgrade your guns and gadgets. It's rare for a James Bond game to have an upgrade system, but it is nice being able to assess your arsenal after every level and decide how you're going to use your research points. Despite this, the execution of this system is off. You can only increase stats to do with your clips and ammo, so there's no satisfaction using upgraded weapons in levels. Also, because of the ammo problems, you can't just use the weapons you've upgraded, as you probably won't have enough ammo for them. You also get too many research points, and as it's pointless to upgrade any of your gadgets, it's far too easy to upgrade all of your weapons before the end of the game. This is saying a lot, as the game isn't that long and only took me around 5 hours to beat. From Russia with Love was a great idea for a Bond game, they just couldn't pull it off. Instead of making a game that felt like the original film, they made a game more in line with the Pierce Brosnan films and games, which makes the game feel pointless. The gameplay is very rough around the edges, from the basic shooting mechanics to the poor driving. When it comes to the gameplay, I think it's mostly a case of the game not aging well, but even so, Everything or Nothing holds up a lot better than this game does. It's not a terrible game, as it still has a charm that playing most Bond games has, and it doesn't have any major flaws. It's more wasted potential than anything else, which makes it hard for me to say it's a great game. My score is 4.5 out of 10. You can have some fun with From Russia with Love, but for the most part it's just an ambitious idea that was taken in the complete wrong direction.